D&D, the Draconomancy.
Hi guys, Grub Slime here, and I want to talk today about the D&D campaign I was saying about the other day. So the campaign is based in Greek mythology. I can't remember what exactly the actual the campaign name itself is, but our characters are a mixed batch. We've got my character Eld, who's a human druid. We've got Dennis, who's a human cleric, who happens to also be one of the child of one of the gods, specifically the sea. That comes into play later on, trust me. We've got Grexy's Steadfast. He's essentially just a barbarian Leonin. Badass as hell, literally, you can't stop this guy. We've got Soltrum, and I'm not going to say his last name, because like Verf is a Gerfis guy. I don't know what the hell he called it as. Like, one of the guys can actually say it off properly, but I can't. He's a Dragonborn fighter, who happens to be a yellow Dragonborn. It plays into a funny situation that happens later on in the story. So there's our characters. Now, a few details I want to point out. Basically, Dennis and Grexys both have Belt of the Storm Giant, which increases their strength greatly. So that plays into a lot of funny scenarios. And Dennis also has a small box that transforms into like a boat or a galleon ship, depending on which catchphrase he uses. That also comes into play for a funny situation that I'm going to explain later on. So basically, as we start, we had two other characters as well, but they're dead, and the other player is not playing with us anymore, so his character is still here. So the first story was essentially the best one here. Is we essentially had to fight a blue. Well, we were kind of encountering a blue dragon, and luckily for us, it didn't pay us any attention, just flew away. So during this part of this session, only me and two other people were available. The other players were not, so we were missing like half of our party. We were just unavailable to do anything. We had to stop a militant sort of faction. So essentially, like, there's a type of military, but some of them are actually, well, bad, as you can say. In this area, they've done like stuff that they shouldn't do. And what happens is we have to stop them from raiding a village. Now, here's the fun part, because they have an ambush drake. And me being a druid, I thought, my animal handling, this will work great. Turns out it didn't. I rolled a 19, plus my animal handling of 4 at the time, because it's now 6. I got a 23. That wasn't high enough. I was literally in the bushes going like, here, ambush drake, here boy, come on, let's be friends. He climbs up on the tree and bites into my arm, so I decide to turn into a warg, because my druid is of the moon, so I turn into animals and stuff. And basically just tore this fucker to shreds. So that's the first incident that's something funny, because why not? So then it turns out that this other dragon, who's polymorphed, it's a white dragon that decides to challenge Grexys. Is that sorry, no magic tricks, and they're like, okay. And basically beats Grexys using ice, just like, because he makes an aura of ice around himself. So Grexys is pissed off, like, oh, for crying out loud, you did this to me, didn't you, you bastard. So then later on, the next session, unfortunately I wasn't able to take a part in because I was working. But it turns out what happened is we discovered a dock that had 2 ships that were ready to transport stuff that we weren't going to allow to happen. So what we decided to do was we decided to go and attack this, dock of ships. Yeah, turns out that when we arrived, I was instantly spotted. The first thing I decided to do is literally, as a reaction, I'm like, it says like, oh, mate, I'm just a dock worker. Alright, I'm just here doing my job. Just leave me be. And I managed to get a 19 on that one, because thank frig. And they're like, okay, well, I guess he's just a dock worker, we'll leave him alone. And literally, we're all laughing like, I can't believe that just worked. How the hell did that actually happen? Which was funny. So then we decided to try and get to the ships. Now, Grexys decided it'd be a funny idea to pretend to be injured and collapse in front of these soldiers. So they go grab him, like to carry him back to the ship, kind of like, what the hell's up with this guy? He literally grabs one by the arm and says, "Beware, the Kraken!" As soon as he mentioned that, we all instantly thought, you know what? We're doing this. I can turn into a giant octopus. We're freaking doing this. So Dennis creates a fog. I jump into the water, transform into a kraken, go into the fog, and wave the tentacles around in the air, like whoop, 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 like Dr. Swiper. Instantly, we start tricking the NPCs to thinking that there is actually a kraken. Like, oh, they're like, oh, there's a kraken, we can run for your lives, that sort of thing. We didn't know this at the time, but there were 2 polymorph dragons on board. Specifically, a green one and a red one, I think. And yeah, it turns out that the green one is actually aquatic. Yeah, you can tell what happens here. Basically, the dragon just jumps right into the water, not caring that there's a kraken in there, and decides to attack. Now, during this, we were joking, saying, like, imagine if an actual kraken did appear. And to which the DM said that there is actually a real kraken nearby, but he's not giving a crap. And we're actually like, oh shit, there actually is a kraken in the water, fuck. And yeah, this dragon proceeds to attack me and kills me. Now, if you don't know anything about Circle of the Moon Druids and that, when you die in your animal form, you revert back to your human form. Whatever over damage you take reverts to your human form as well. Luckily, I only just took enough points of damage to kill me, to the point where, like, I'm still human form. The dragon notices me and goes, literally looks at me because he's got blind sight in the water. And I'm like, oh shit, I've got another transformation. What can I turn into to get away fast enough? And unfortunately, the only fastest thing I've got is the giant octopus. So I turn back into it and try and swim away. This fucker grabs my tentacle and bites into it. I'm like, ah, damn it! I managed to latch onto the side of a ship, grab its face, and smash it right into the boat, but it doesn't do enough damage, and the thing decides to use acid damage to basically destroy my form, and as I'm trying to swim away, it bites me and causes more acid damage, and I'm like nearly dead. I'm like, okay, I'll jump up, I'm onto the actual dock now, I'm running for it just like that, pretending to still be in character of a dock worker, so that way people like, you know, oh, he's just run away because he's afraid of the dragon, and afraid of the kraken, it's fine. And I'm like, this is the worst day on the job ever. As I say that, the other polymorph dragons in human form decides to say, oh yeah, well, here, you're fired. Throws a firebolt at me. I managed to do the saving throw, but I still die, and I'm on the frickin' dock. And just the fire does not burn the dock. And I'm like that, just like saying that to the DM. He's like, wait, does the fire burn the dock as well? And he's like, no, unfortunately it doesn't, as he rolled. And I'm just like, as I'm dying, I'm like, so unfair. And I'm dead. Meanwhile, Soltrum decides it'll be a fun idea to find a ballista and just start shooting the ballista like crazy at things. It's quite funny. And after a while, Dennis manages to revive me. And while this is happening, Grexy's has gone pissed because I've been killed, and Grexy's like this trying to avenge me. He's like, I'll avenge my ally! And basically beats the shit out of the dragon to the point where it's now like laying in the water, just pretty much 3 hits. Like, it's that comatose state where you have to hit it 3 more times before it dies fully. Says Dennis revives me. I run up to the dragon, decide to stab it. Nothing. It literally pings right off the armor. I'm like, okay, well, I can't do anything. I just dive into the water to avoid dying. Grexy's manages to finish off fully and tries to threaten the other dragon to the point where like they're literally like, oh shit, hang on, this guy is actually kind of fucked up. And luckily, we managed to actually survive. And the red dragon's like, you know, I'm scaring out this one because this is just messed up what just happened. And yeah, we managed to escape and heal ourselves up. Then it turns out that while they tried to flee away because we actually managed to do some substantial damage to their ships, they need to repair them. So what happens is in the meantime, we need information about what's going to happen, like where they're going. So we're told by a group, I think it's like the leaders of the village or city, they tell us that if we want to, like if they want us to let us know, if we want them to tell us where they're going, we have to do something for them. And it turns out we have to go fight a Hydra.